Bismillahirrahmanirrahim. Assalamu alaikum to all our viewers. This is our educational channel Learning Biology Online. I'm Dr. Asad, and in this lecture we will be covering the final portion of the digestive system in human beings, where we will discuss the structure of the caecum, colon and the rectum, that are the components of the large intestine. So in this portion we will highlight what happens to the food once it enters these portions of the large intestine after most of the digestion has already been undergone within the small intestine portion. At the end of this lecture you should be able to know what different components of the large intestine are, how each component is different from one another, which means that we will be highlighting what happens to the food in all these different sections, and then we will also highlight if there are any complications related to the large intestine. So if we want to highlight the portion of the large intestine, this is the diagram that we have over here, जिसमें कि हमने इस जो सेंट्रल पोर्शन है इसके बारे में ऑलरेडी पढ़ा हुआ है, दैट दिस इज़ द पोर्शन ऑफ द स्मॉल इंटेस्टाइन बेसिकली विद इट्स 3 डिफरेंट कंपोनेंट्स. उसके अलावा आप देख सकते हैं कि दिस स्मॉल इंटेस्टाइन then it is connected with this portion, the outer boundary that is of the large intestine. So we will cover the different components of it, what these components actually are, and how food passes through them and what happens to the food as well. So the main components that we come across in the large intestine, or which through the food is or the undigested material is going to pass on, that consist of the caecum, then we have the colon, and lastly is the rectum. So once again we will display the picture over here in order to understand this different components of the the large intestine. तो यहाँ पे आप देख सकते हैं कि इलियम इज़ द फाइनल पोर्शन ऑफ द स्मॉल इंटेस्टाइन, और यहाँ से एक ओपनिंग जो है दैट इज़ द इलियक स्फिंक्टर, दैट इज़ नाउ ओपनिंग इनटू दिस पोर्शन, द ओपन एरिया दैट यू कैन सी ओवर हेयर. ये इस तरह से ओपन होता नहीं है, बट जस्ट टू शो यू द ओपनिंग ऑफ द स्मॉल इंटेस्टाइन into the caecum. So this portion, initial portion of the large intestine is known as the caecum, that you can see as a sac like opening. ठीक है, तो इसकी डेफिनेशन भी आगे चल के हम देखेंगे. तो ब्लाइंड पाउच लाइक जो है ये स्ट्रक्चर होता है, that is the initial portion of the large intestine. So iliac sphincter से the food is going to enter this portion. So basically जो peristaltic movements होती हैं, that basically allow the opening of this sphincter and the food is pushed forward into this portion. ठीक है, और इसी तरह से बाकी सारा जो food है वो through esophagus into stomach and into large intestine इस तरह से sequence में move कर रहा होता है. तो यहाँ पे जो food present होगा वो through the iliac sphincter it will enter into the caecum, and then you can see a relatively larger portion of the large intestine, that is the colon. ठीक है, अब कोलन के जो हैं डिफरेंट पोर्शंस हैं. तो यहाँ से जब फूड सीकम में एंटर होगा अनडाइजेस्टेड फूड, इट विल फर्स्ट एंटर इनटू द असेंडिंग कोलन. ठीक है, इसका क्या मतलब है कि फूड यहाँ से इन द अपवर्ड पोजीशन मूव कर रहा है. सो दिस इज़ द राइट साइड ऑफ आवर बॉडी राइट नाउ. ठीक है, दिस पोर्शन once again it is the part of the colon that is known as the transverse portion, the transverse colon, and then it is the food is going to move downwards, that is into the descending colon now. ठीक है, यहाँ से फिर the food is going to move into this portion, the rectum, and then into the anus, through which the undigested food is excreted out of the body. ठीक है, so these are the different portion, 3 main portion of the large intestine. उसमें आप कोलन की जो different components है उसको देख सकते हैं, the ascending, transverse and the descending colon. So the initial part of the large intestine, the cecum, it is defined as a pouch-like structure or a blind sac-like ending. ठीक है, अब इसमें होता क्या है कि this is the content of this portion. Once all of the digestion and absorption has occurred in the small intestine, the undigested food, water and the other salts, they are going to enter this portion of the large intestine, where there may be some portion of absorption of the water and salts. ठीक है, but the final waste is actually going to be prepared within this portion, and attached to this portion is a small finger-like structure that is known as the appendix, जो कि obvious appendix that is that we had it in the last image as well, but we didn't focus on that, but obviously we need to highlight this portion as well. Obviously इसकी कोई functionally इतना significant नहीं है, but there are chances that this undigested food along with certain infectious material, that may be a bacteria or a virus, that may enter this portion and it can cause inflammation of this particular structure. तो अपेंडिक्स की अगर हम स्पेसिफिकली बात करें तो इट्स function is yet to be known. Largely it is said that it does not has a function within the body, but due to certain reasons there could be movement of certain infectious agents leading to inflammation of this particular organelle, and this condition is known as appendicitis. ठीक है, तो appendicitis क्या है? Inflammation of the appendix. रीज़न क्या होंगे? जो भी undigested food cecum में enter हुआ है, that some part of it may enter this finger like projection along with infectious agents such as bacteria, viruses or any other microbe, जिसकी वजह से inflammation हो जाएगी इस portion की, and there could be symptoms like pain within the lower right side of the abdomen along with decrease in appetite and vomiting. ठीक है, तो जो ज़्यादा इसमें acute symptom है उसमें ज़्यादातर जो pain है, very sharp excruciating pain on the lower left side, right side, it may occur, or obviously the patient has to be admitted to the hospital on immediate basis, and the appendix has to be removed, the process that is known as appendicectomy. ठीक है, so that sectomy means the removal of this particular organelle. So ये diagram हमने already study की हुई है, so you can see over here this finger like projection over here. This is the appendix. Inflammation of it may cause appendicitis. Some of the other complications relevant to the large intestine, they include diarrhea, जिसमें कि क्या होता है कि there is no reabsorption of the water and salts. ठीक है, तो लार्ज इंटेस्टाइन्स के केस में हमने स्पेसिफिकली क्या पढ़ा है, जो सीकम और कोलन वाला पार्ट है, इसमें क्या हो रहा होता है कि बेसिकली जो अब हमारे पास वाटर और सॉल्ट्स हैं उनकी रीअब्जॉर्प्शन होती है, फाइनल रीअब्जॉर्प्शन. बट इफ़ देयर इज़ सर्टन माइक्रोबियल इन्वेजन इन दिस पोर्शन एंड सॉल्ट्स एंड वाटर मटेरियल इज़ नॉट रीअब्सॉर्ब्ड, तो क्या होगा कि ये जो फाइनल अनडाइजेस्टेड फूड का पार्ट फिर बन जाता है, जिसकी वजह से जो स्टूल आएगा पेशेंट को, दैट इज़ गोइंग टू बी लूज एंड वाटरी. और कंटिन्यूसली 2 to 3 टाइम्स अगर पेशेंट को इस तरह का स्टूल आता है किसी भी इंडिविजुअल को, ऑब्वियसली दैट कंडीशन इज़ हाईलाइटेड एज डायरिया, एंड इन दैट पर्टिकुलर कंडीशन certain anti-diarrheal medications are given to the patient along with high fluid intake. So this condition is not that what you can call simple, that you may let it go, because early on जब इसका reasons नहीं पता थे तो due to this diarrhea patient की death भी हो जाती थी because of excessive water loss. So the condition has to be evaluated very well. जब भी excessive water loss हो रहा है तो obviously patient should be on high fluid intake along with anti-diarrheal medications that remove the bacterial invasion. in order to prevent excessive water loss. ठीक है, तो अभी भी सीवियर कंडीशंस में अक्सर ये हो जाता है कि पेशेंट इतने डिहाइड्रेट हो जाते हैं दैट दे हैव टू बी टेकन टू द एमरजेंसी, और फिर सर्टन फ्लूइड्स जो हैं डेक्सट्रोज की इस तरह के फ्लूइड की उनको ड्रिप्स लगाई जाती हैं जस्ट टू रिस्टोर देयर मिनरल एंड वाटर कंटेंट। ठीक है, इसके अलावा इसकी ऑपोजिट एक कंडीशन होती है जिसमें कि देयर इज़ एक्सेसिव रीअब्जॉर्प्शन ड्यू टू सर्टन रीजन, दैट पर्टिकुलर कंडीशन इज़ नोन एज कॉन्स्टिपेशन, जिसमें क्या होता है कि जब हमारा स्टूल है दैट बिकम्स सो हार्ड दैट इट बिकम्स डिफ़िकल्ट फॉर द इंडिविजुअल टू बी एक्सक्रीटेड आउट। ठीक है, वाई दैट हैपन्स बिकॉज देयर इज़ एक्सेसिव रीअब्जॉर्प्शन and the stool that has to be removed from the body, it no more remains soft to be removed outside the body, and it actually becomes hard. So that condition is known as constipation. ठीक है, so obviously there are certain drugs and certain dietary modifications that are advised to the patient, such as high fiber intake just to keep the stool soft. High water intake is also advised so that the final feces that is formed, that is soft enough to be removed from the body. Then we come to the rectum, that is probably the second last portion of the large intestine, followed by anus. ठीक है, rectum है क्या? It's the final portion, and attached to this portion is the anal portion through which the waste is excreted. So in this portion there is temporary storage of the waste that is coming from the caecum, the colon portion of the large intestine. ठीक है, so then it is going to reach the anus. ठीक है, that consists of certain sphincter muscles around it that whenever there is going to be the movement of the waste material from the rectum into the anus, what is going to happen? The sphincter muscles, they are going to get active. ठीक है, there are outer and inner stripped muscles present within the anus that allow the waste to move out of the body. So whenever the waste material it is going to reach anus, the defecation reflex is going to operate. इसमें होता क्या है that brain receives signals, there are signals from the brain to the sphincter muscles that are present around the anus, जिसकी वजह से there is opening of these muscles and movement of the waste outside the body. ठीक है, तो इस process को हम कहते हैं the defecation reflex. The individual actually feels that the waste is there around the anal region, and then obviously they are able to sense the situation and they move to excrete the waste outside their body. So infants में obviously ये reflex develop नहीं हुआ होता, later with age ये जो reflex है ये develop हो जाता है, and then obviously they can sense the defecation reflex, and then they can excrete their waste outside their body. So you can see in the diagram over here the final portion of the large intestine. We'll try to show it with a different color over here. So this is the rectum, and then we have the final anal portion that consists of the outer and inner sphincter muscles that allow the excretion of the waste material. So this is the end of our lecture, where we have discussed the final portion of the digestive system in human beings. So do like our video, share it with your other students as well. Comment section may do mention if you have any question relevant to the topics we have covered over here. Do not forget to subscribe to our channel. Click the bell button so you can receive new video notifications on regular basis. Thank you very much.